post-secondary plans and, guide their pathways. I also manage all of our alumni support, social media, things like that. So yeah, it's great to be here.
Beautiful. With that being said, we've got a little bit of virtual housekeeping. Now, most of you are just Zoom experts by now, but I just want to remind you, you've all jumped on and you're muted. Please know that we encourage participation at this point. We are going to ask the presenters to speak, but we want you to ask questions. Amy will be managing the chat box, and we want you throughout the whole presentation to submit questions. At the end, we'll take some of those questions, but if before then Amy feels that it's the right time to ask the question, jump on in. We want it to be a conversation. We want it to be welcoming, and bottom line, this is completely done for you students. So please participate and feel welcome to turn your cameras on if you choose. At some point towards the end of the presentation, Amy's going to pop in a meeting feedback survey that we ask for you to complete. We really value your feedback. We want to make these presentations better for you. And also, we will email you post-event information for you to further your research. And your schools will know that you attended, so you get attendance points with them. So with that being said, and forgive it, I've got a 4.5-year-old and an 8-year-old shoving messages under the door right now. So forgive the ruckus over at the Murphy house. But I'd like to, I'm so excited. I'd like to welcome our expert panelist. We've got Mr. Rodriguez. He is a designer and is, how do I pronounce that, Mr. Rodriguez, the firm?
Killefer Fleming Architects, or KFA for sure.
I'm going to go with KFA.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with KFA now, just to ease my mind of not messing it up. Well, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Rodriguez.
Of course.
Then we've got Ms. Anna Leaker. I'm not sure if she's able to sign on yet, but we're hoping she is able to sign on at some point today. Ms. Leaker, are you there? Not yet? Okay, but she's professor and chair of the fashion design department at Woodbury. And then we have 2 people from the Art Center, Pasadena. We've got Mr. Stuart Reed. He's the chair of the Transportation Design Department at the Art Center in Pasadena. And also Mr. Leon Paz, he's professor and alumni from the Art Center Transportation Design. So thank y'all for being here. So excited to start this combo and enlighten our amazing PUC students so they can learn more about you and the occupation. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, everyone. Why do we have these events? We want to make sure that you are empowered to make career decisions that are right for you. And it's not after you graduate high school, it's not when you're in 12th grade, it's wherever you are right now today. You want to get career knowledge and gain insight from professionals in the field. So please, this is your opportunity to learn from them and to ask questions. So again, bottom line, any kind of presentation that you attend, and today's included, it's for you to become more knowledgeable in making your own personal career decisions. So let's jump right on in. All right, I have all the presenters' names on the bottom of the screen, just so students, when they're talking, you know who is doing what, and you could see their great faces on the screen with their names. Thank you for having your names clearly listed. But we've got a lot of students ranging anywhere today from 6th grade to 12th grade. We might even have an alumni on the call, but when you were in high school, what did you want to be? And can you please bring up a couple key experiences to help get you to, that got you to where you are today? And you know what, maybe I'm just going to start off with Mr. Pess. How about we start with you? Just because the way the squares are on my screen, you're first.
All right, so start sharing from my high school to today. Well, a lot happened from high school to today. In high school, I had a very rough time trying to, decipher who I was and what I wanted to be. I was actually quite on the rambunctious type of side, or a little bit more on the mischief type of side. And then I had the opportunity to flunk some some high school years and then have to endure repeating high school years because I come from Colombia, and over there you have to repeat what you don't pass. So by the time I was able to repeat the courses, I understood that keeping grades high was actually essential, and it was actually fun. Once you understand something, I did not want to go back to the to the dark side, or to the last chairs on the classroom. And I started sitting in front, and I started talking with the kids that were doing well. And I remember talking about vehicles and about roads and about the future. But none of my friends knew how to draw. And I started trying to, draw vehicles myself. They weren't great at all. But they led me to this dream of becoming a car designer, which I didn't really know it existed at that moment. And it happened to be just a very casual stroll. One evening, my dad took me to this exotic car dealership, and I saw a Ferrari parked right next to a Mercedes Benz. And the owner of the dealership let me sit inside of the Ferrari. But when I was opening the door, he said, "Oh, be careful." And my dad asked, "Oh, it's because of the Ferrari is very expensive?" He said, "No, the Mercedes Benz right next to it is worth twice the price." So we were in awe. We're like, how come that is worth twice this Ferrari when it doesn't look like it? And that at that moment, I understood that somebody was in charge of how things look. And somebody was also in charge about how things perform, which is two different job titles. And from that day on, I started just following the passion of, sketching, drawing, sculptures, everything that was just visually satisfactory. Why would somebody pay more for one product against the other? And it became a live pursuit. I found Art Center as a sheer coincidence. My brother is an architect, and he understood that Art Center had transportation design course. And my dream when I was a high school student was to go to Italy and learn car design from the masters. I thought that's where car design came from. But to my surprise, Art Center was the pinnacle of the car design industry. So I accepted my defeat. I came to Art Center actually knowing that it was going to be even better. And I struggled a lot as a student. My skills weren't there. There was a lot of mileage, but the feeling and the idea of succeeding in Art Center is the camaraderie, is the situation where you're put in, the expectations, and the ability to force yourself to do better every day, which really brings up to many aspects of life itself, which is trying to better your situation, trying to do that sketch nicer next time, trying to perform that task faster and nicer as days go by. In any profession, that's almost the goal, right? And from a certain point, in certain very lucky and very rewarding situations, I was able to get a grant, actually a full ride scholarship from the department. Mr. Reed here was in that time also the department chair, and they really helped me out completing my education at Art Center. And at that point, I understood that there was people looking for me, people looking out for me and trying to help out the younger talent. And that stayed in my head for the longest until today. We really tried to think about how can we advance not only our industry, but also, society, especially with the difficulties that we present with overpopulation, with COVID, with health, with interconnectivity between cities, with mass transit, with public transport, all this stuff. So it's not only just about the cool sketch, it's not only about the design aspect of it, which is beautiful, but it also brings questions about how to become a better designer. And I think that's across the whole design and industrial design field. So today, experiences going through Honda as an intern, later on Honda as a contractor, a designer, 3D modeler, and also being able to participate in other industries because, you know, our schools, you know, not only Art Center really trains us well through a different plethora of skills, you know, through design only. It's not only just one type of design. It really gets across many different fields like graphic design, product design, environmental design. I have worked in the fashion design industry for our guests at the headquarters here in Los Angeles. I have also done point of purchases for, you know, companies that are interested in just, you know, setting a booth. I have done interior design for vehicles. I've done exterior design. So it really just brings you into this world of being able to communicate your ideas and to feel, how do you say that, to feel important in the chain of, you know, the process. Many lessons that I've learned. It's such a broad question, to be honest, but I'm trying to read here the key experiences that help pave the way, and it's definitely just perseverance. You know, I remember being absolutely scared about Art Center because it's like thinking, you know what, I want to be a lawyer, but, you know, I don't like reading too much, and I don't know what lawyers do, but man, that sounds cool. I'm going to go and apply to Harvard. It's like, yeah, you're going to get scared trying to just even fill in that submission. But walking through the halls of Art Center and seeing the amazing artwork out there, you know, the cars, the motorcycles, the yachts, the airplanes, just really fueled my curiosity and just fueled my desire to become one of them. And it's just through hard work, you know, at any position that you are, perseverance and hard work is going to be, you know, the key aspects of your success.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, maybe we'll just go to Mr. Reed.
You're muted, Stuart. There you go.
Sorry, I was muted here. Yeah, just like with Leon, I mean, for me, you know, the high school years were really influential and formative, you know, for me. And, you know, I was very fortunate to grow up in a family where my father and my grandfather were kind of do-it-yourselfers, and they built stuff, and they were always inventing and loved the outdoors. And my grandfather made his own underwater camera and photographed fish, and just my father was always refinishing or building a boat or something. So that was, you know, very influential for me. And by the time I got into high school, I was pretty sure I wanted to be an architect. You know, when I think about, you know, Eric and the world of architecture, I admire that so much, you know. And so I talked to the, you know, in the school where I went, which was like 5 hours drive north of Detroit, way far away from any kind of industry. You know, all we had was like shop classes and then art classes. It was like one or the other. And there was no hybrid class that was sort of in the design realm. So I remember being so interested in architecture because my father's best friend was an architect, and the two of them were kind of leading the little local chapter of Sports Car Club of America. They had Austin Healey's and doing little activities. And so my father's friend was an architect, had designed a lot of things around our town. Austin Healey in the garage, I thought he was the coolest guy in the world. I'd go over to his house and sit in an Eames chair and read, you know, architectural books. And I thought, that's it. That's who I want to be, you know. So I talked my high school art teachers into letting me take another art class beyond the basic and turn it into my own kind of architecture class. So I was designing and building kind of futuristic prefabricated modular homes and vacation homes and making big models on platforms. And so all the local architects in my hometown saw those things and thought, oh, you're going to be an architect. So they would come and get me out of high school in the afternoon, sometimes take me out to their construction sites. And I would listen to them negotiating with the client or with the construction people. And it was just huge learning, you know, for me at high school level. But as I think back, I'm just thankful that I kind of had sort of like the guts to talk to them and say, and I kind of designed my own path in the art class because it was a little different. And then I had an art teacher who was watching me draw cars and things. And he goes, you know who you are? He says, you're an industrial designer, you know? And I said, well, what's an industrial designer? And he said, it's kind of partly engineering and technology, and it's partly art, but that's your future. And I go, wow. And that was the first that I even heard the term, you know, industrial design. So I'm pursuing this path of wanting to be an architect. And then General Motors, I think I was 15 years old or something at the time, General Motors came to our hometown and challenged the students in a really neat presentation of all the career paths that General Motors offered in automotive. And it was everything. I mean, it was business, law, engineering, design. I mean, you know, a big automaker has all those, you know, functions in it. But this was toward design, and they said you can enter this design competition and win, you know, college scholarship money. So I entered it first when I was 15, and you designed it around their criteria and built an accurate, you know, 1/12 scale model about this long. And I did that when I was 15, won second place in Michigan. So I was really encouraged. So the following year, age 16, I went after it again and won first place in Michigan, and got to go for 5 days to Detroit to visit General Motors with all the other winners from around the US. Each state had their winner. And it was just eye-opening to me because I met designers and engineers and sat in concept cars and went through assembly plants and GM research. And that was life-changing. And I met a lot of designers the day we were at design staff that said, oh, I saw your model, it's great. What are you gonna do in the future? And I said, well, I'm debating, you know, between automotive design and architecture. And several of them said, well, I went to Art Center College of Design, you know, in California, and that's what you need to do, you know. So at the end of the week, you know, they had a big awards presentation, this amazing, you know, big thing, and I won college scholarship money. And so at that moment, I decided, yep, I'm going to Art Center College of Design. So that, in a nutshell, that's my story.
Okay,
So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Rodriguez, would you please unmute and
Yes.
share your story? Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you both, Leon and Stuart, for those. It was great. So for me, I went to high school I went to Cleveland High School here in the San Fernando Valley on Reseda. So I grew up not too far from the school. While going there, the thing I wanted to be was as a soccer player. That was like the thing that, you know, everybody in my neighborhood, you know, that's all we could do, right? Like we were out in the street playing soccer, and that was the dream. And you know, by the time I got up to around being like 15 or 16, and you know, I wasn't, you know, on any U16 or U17 all-star teams, I thought to myself, this is probably not gonna pan out. Being a soccer player is probably not gonna be the thing that I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. So I had to really think seriously about what I wanted to do my junior year, and I stumbled upon a drafting class at Cleveland High School, and the drafting class, you know, just taught you're doing a lot of hand drawing and drawing a lot of machine parts. And I really just enrolled in it because I thought a lot of people were saying it was an easy A. And, you know, I figured, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's an easy A. I like to draw. So I grew up drawing because of my mother. She's not a trained like painter, but she loves to paint ever since she was young. So that was something that was always something that was always persistent in my life, like just drawing. And in one of those classes, I had someone come in, an alumni from Cleveland came in, and they had been part of the drafting program. And he came in for a single day just to kind of talk about what he was doing, what he was up to. And he mentioned that he he had been wanting to be an architect, and what he ended up doing was he went to Pierce College, took some courses there, and then he realized that a lot of his classes actually didn't transfer. They didn't transfer over to any of the schools in the area. So like SciArc, Woodbury, or even like Berkeley, San Luis Obispo. So what he ended up doing is somebody finally recommended to him that he go to Pasadena City College if he actually wanted to do architecture, because they had courses that would transfer. And at the time I actually I was a pretty good student. Like, even though, you know, I wanted the easy A with drafting, like I did pretty well. You know, I took a bunch of AP courses, and just that stuff came easy to me. And when I applied for schools, you know, I was aiming for either UCs or, you know, just one of the well-known, more recognized schools. And I applied to two. I decided from that point on, when I met this person, I was like, okay, I'm gonna either do architecture or engineering. And I didn't have a full, like, clear picture of like what the differences were, but I knew that I was good at math, I liked art. Okay, those are two maybe branches that I could explore. And I ended up applying to UC Berkeley and San Luis Obispo for architecture. And then I applied for engineering over at UCSD and UC Davis. And I got into the two engineering schools, but I didn't get into the architecture schools. So I almost felt like my hand was forced in a way. Like, I was like, I guess I'm gonna be doing engineering. Like, you know, I didn't work this hard to not go to a UC. And I finally, you know, I had a conversation with my drafting teacher. His name was Don Runyon. He has since passed, but he is just a great mentor. And he told me, he said, you know, if you want to follow your passion, if what you really want to do is architecture, and you think that that's what your gut is telling you, that's where you should go, then you should pursue it. You know, don't chase the name of the school, pursue what it is that you really want to do. And so I ended up investigating going to Pasadena City College because of the advice that the young man had given at the time. And I ended up doing that. And I turned down the UCs, and I didn't go there. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna go to Pasadena, and I'm gonna just do everything I can and just kind of put all my energy into being the best that I can be at this school, and transfer and go to another one of the schools. And while I was there, you know, I participated in a competition called the 2x8. And you know, in my second year of the program, I ended up getting second place in my second year against other schools across the state. And, you know, Berkeley, San Luis Obispo were also on there. So I kind of felt a little bit redeemed. I'm like, wow, you know, it really, it wasn't about the name, right? Like, I was able to be here at a second year program, and, you know, I was able to place, you know, above people who were in their fourth, fifth year of the architecture program. And, you know, that really boosted my confidence and made me really realize, like, it's not about the name, it's about the energy that you're putting into it, and the passion and the fulfillment that you have from doing the work that you're doing. So from then on, that was kind of like my mindset. I ended up transferring with the scholarship to Woodbury University. I graduated from Woodbury in 2012, and I worked for an urban designer architect in Santa Monica. And then I ended up actually going off to the Midwest, and I spent about 5 years in Cleveland, and in Cleveland, Ohio, not at Cleveland High School. And I worked for a nonprofit affordable housing developer there. So I was able to sit on the ownership side of architecture and was able to see sort of the finance piece of how projects get built and, you know, what some of the other forces that inform design. And that was really interesting to me. I learned a ton from being in that space. And after 5 years, you know, I had experienced enough winters and really cold weather to say, okay, I think I'm ready for some more sunshine. And I made my girlfriend at the time, we made the trek back because she's also from the Valley, and she's a teacher in the Valley, and she also went to Cleveland. And we both wanted to just be close to home, be close to family, and so we made the move back and have been here since 2018. And I work for, that's when I ended up getting hired by Kilford Fleming Architects. And when I was making the move, I also wanted to continue the work in affordable housing. And even though I was going back to work and be on the architecture side, I wanted to continue that part of my work. And I think that given the fact that we're, you know, we see people that are unhoused so much here in LA, and, you know, it's a crisis all over the state and all over the country for that matter, that housing is a human right. And so I continue to, through my work, continue to advocate, and I'm very passionate about making sure that more voices are heard within the process of design. And, you know, that really, it really stems from just like my upbringing and having grown up in an area that was also considered like low income. And I just feel that we need more voices in the room. And so as designers, sort of advocating for that, for more people to be part of the process and to give their input is really important to me. And so, you know, I guess if I leave you with anything from that story, is just, you know, really try to dig deep and look into yourself for differentiating between like what success is, or what people say is success. Is success having like a really just like having a really nice car, or, you know, or you know, having the nicest house, or, you know, what fills you, right? What's finding the difference between success and fulfillment, I think, is really important. And you know, something to really think about as you find your future and make your next steps.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. In looking at the clock, we've only got 2 more questions, but I'd love to go. We have 2 more questions. I'd love to know, in terms of your jobs, what real world experience, like what does your work day look like in the field? What is your work environment like? I mean, we've had kids fill out surveys as to what they want to be when they grow up. And I think I shared this with Mr. Reed, and they're like, I don't want to work in an office, or I don't want to work long hours. I want to have a lot of free time. I want to travel. They want a lot of things. But the reality of what your job entails, and what do you like best and what do you like least about your job? So if we could just kind of ask for a couple minutes on a quick overview of what you do, or what someone in design does in your field. And maybe do you mind if I go backwards in the order? Maybe Mr. Rodriguez, do you want to kick this question off, please?
Yeah, I can do that. So for my typical work day, I mean, I'm gonna refer to post-COVID now because it's that's what we're living through now. But you know, I get up in the morning. I'm able to, you know, go out for a run, go on a bike ride. I come back, start my work day around 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, I'm in front of the computer. I have you know, I may have a meeting with one of our teams, just to look over a project that's gonna be built. We'll have some plans of the actual building that we can review and sort of talk about online, and we'll share our screens with each other. We're able to draw on top of whatever the building is and the site is, talk about the conditions, talk about future presentations maybe to the client that are coming up. we need to give. Later that day, I may have a site visit that I need to get ready for. And so I need to make sure I have my hard hat, my iPad, make sure I have all the drawings and all the questions ready to be able to go in and be very efficient with my time going to the site. You know, especially right now with COVID, we have to be very careful and navigating that. So as we walk the site, making sure the superintendent who's overseeing the construction is he has the time to come through and see all the different spots and all the progress that's being made on the project, take pictures, document everything, ask questions. And then, I might come back to my desk, put together some notes of what we observed, send that off to the client, let the client know, hey, this is the money that you're paying to get this project built. This is sort of where it's at. This is what we saw on our visit. I may look over drawings after that from different consultants. So I may have, if they're pouring concrete, I may be getting submittals, which are just, it's basically the contractor sending you information about the products they're using and making sure that it complies with the plans that you've prepared and the specifications. So you have to just cross-check, make sure, okay, they're gonna install a concrete beam at this location. I gotta make sure there's enough head height that we're not gonna run into any issues down the line if plumbing lines need to come down. So you always have to be, the drawings become these living documents that are, you're having to look through all the layers. You have to look into the future. You have to look deep into details. And so the architect is really the one who's constantly having to zoom out and make sure that all the different parts of the team are talking to each other, because these projects are being built and things are being refined and further as days go by. So that's kind of a summary, my day.
Thank you. I can visualize it. I can visualize it and appreciate that the insight. It sounds like a lot of collaboration, a lot of oversight, a lot of just following guidelines and making sure people are all doing what they're supposed to do within the design that you're following. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing that. How about Mr. Reed? Will you please go next?
Sure. What Eric was just saying is interesting, because we're having discussions with one of our board members at Art Center who's, a real car enthusiast and a design enthusiast. And we've been talking a lot. He's an architect, talking about the parallels between architecture and automotive design, because much of what Eric described is really what happens in the automotive design studios, thinking about materials choice and central structure and meeting all kinds of requirements, whether they're safety or emissions or whatever they are. So it's very similar. So, that's where I've spent my career in automotive design with companies like Chrysler and Toyota. And it's an extremely complex world, and it's a team sport, but it's so much fun. It's so satisfying, to design these wonderful complex things. So I echo much of what he said. But, today I'm in design education. So as I've moved to that, let me just really quickly paint a picture of Art Center, because when I knew as a 16-year-old I wanted to go to Art Center, it was kind of based on this reputation of being a thoroughly professional school of art and design. And the school was founded in LA in 1930. So, it's 90 years old now. And at the outset, it was started by a person who was in the advertising world, who came from Chicago. And when Adams founded the college, he had been working with industrial designers and photographers and graphic designers and illustrators, all these people. And there were coach-built, specially designed cars being built in Southern California. So all these influences came to play on Adams as he worked with all these professionals. So he saw a need for a school of art and design that was thoroughly professional, applied toward all these disciplines. And his idea at the outset was a school that had adjunct faculty who were professionals who teach. rather than, you know, professional teachers. And it's exactly that way today. I mean, Leon and I talk about it a lot, you know, when we're talking about new curriculum and so on. Most all of our faculty in transportation design are working professionally. There are more than 25 advanced automotive design studios here in Southern California. And they take a break from their professional work and teach at Art Center. It's all online at the moment because of COVID. We expect to be back in the fall. So I'll kind of describe that situation to you for fall. But, you know, when I was chief designer at the Toyota Advanced Design Studio some years ago, I would take a break once a week, drive up to Art Center and teach a transportation design class. So I very intimately know how it can be to be right in the middle of your studio activities professionally, run up to Art Center campus, you know, above the Rose Bowl and teach a class. And that's how it is today. That's how it will be, we hope, by fall, you know. But on campus, it's just so exciting because there are all these disciplines, not only transportation design. We've got professionals in the world of entertainment design, photography, illustration, all the other professional disciplines are there. So I would just say to any students listening or educators or parents, just understand that in the world of art and design, there are all kinds of professional paths to take what you love in art and then in our case, technology, and bring them together in a really wonderful way. So my day is just, you know, greeting faculty, working on curriculum, going around to different studio classrooms, and whether it's, you know, the incoming new class of first term students that, you know, like Leon and I remember being first term, you know, you're struggling and you see around you these incredibly talented people that you ask yourself, will I ever be able to do that? And by 8th term, most cases you are, you know, you get there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Reed. To round it out, Mr. Paz, will you please share about your experiences in the real world, work environments, and
Sure.
great.
Yeah, I'll be glad. So my experiences in the real world, I think the first thing that I would like to, you know, brush upon is or talk about is the synergy. You as an individual need to be able to connect to teams. You know, in today's, you know, social media aspect, in today's, you know, climate, they want to make you believe that you could be this one person, you know, band or machine that could do everything. You know, shoot your own video, edit your own video, do your own soundtrack, market your own product, build your own house. But in reality, you need such an infrastructure to do that, or a lot of money. So there has to be, you know, a way to make things work. So what I've learned from my you know, real world experiences, being able to connect with other coworkers, with, you know, with teammates, with your boss, with the boss's boss, because there's you know, outside of school, it's just like a family. You know, there's these layers of hierarchy and depth, and, you know, how to get things moving, and just being able to, you know, just be a functional piece of the machinery, right? So you can do your own thing. For example, I am a professor at Art Center, but I do my own consultancy for my own design studio, and we can call it freelance work. And, you know, when I was, you know, getting into freelance work, what you mentioned earlier is what attracted me into being a freelancer. Like, oh, I want to be able to work, you know, not so many hours. I want to be able to choose, you know, what I want to do, and then I want to get paid. And yes, it does, but you have to understand that you have to be after your clients. You know, jobs are not going to be landing for you every single day. So you start thinking, okay, you know what? It was a bad idea to spend all my check in, you know, partying and inviting everybody to go out because I got this big, amazing paycheck from this one client, and now you're spending 2-3 months looking for jobs, you know, for things to do. So what I've learned is that you can work very little hours, you can get paid, but that will never reflect the amount of work that you had to put in the beginning, and which is what Eric was talking about. Okay, it doesn't have to be about where you go, or it doesn't have to be pursuing the name, which, you know, it's true, but what has to drive you is absolutely your motivation and your desire to not let your dream go away, or to become something that you feel in your gut it's for you. You know, as a student, I had so many moments of doubt. You know, the you know, paying tuition, you know, being out away from my family, paying rent, paying insurance, paying health insurance, and being like, am I going to be able to do this? But inside, I knew I could not be something else. So I wanted it so bad, and being able to get uh, noticed from faculty members, from classmates, from other companies, and be like, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. You know, what's your name? And you're like, oh wow, nice to meet you. That is what really, you know, drives your engine. And for example, for me, I love both my jobs. I have a consultancy and I have my teaching, uh, you know, at Art Center. And I actually prefer my teaching at Art Center because I don't have a client. You know, I'm the boss, and I'm telling people, okay, you know, you need to do this to get an A. You need to do that to get better. You know, think about this, and then showing tricks. That's excellent. But in my day-to-day job, you know, you have things that need to be met, just like an architect needs to, you know, talk to the civil engineer, to, you know, the codes, to, you know, the city, and to the client. You know, it's a multi-hat functioning, you know, society that we live in. So yeah, that'll be my point of view.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And it's amazing all the items that overlay across both of your between architecture and car design or transportation design. It's really interesting. Some of you have shared some of the pieces, and I know, like, I've written down some little tidbits that you shared, like Mr. Rodriguez. All of you talked about passion, and like there's no other choice. This is what spoke to your heart. Mr. Rodriguez, or Mr. Ramirez, pardon me, you said that don't chase the name of the school, which I think is so important for students to hear. When it comes to advice for students, I mean, the students on this call heard the topic and chose to sign in today. Anyone pursuing a career in your industry, these are high schoolers, these might be middle schoolers. What could they do now, or what advice do you have for them on how to get noticed? I believe you said, Mr. Paz, get noticed, get experience, overcome some of the doubt, self-doubt. What would you like to share? And maybe, Mr. Paz, you haven't started any, or who hasn't started? Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Reed, who wants to go first and start in this big question?
Before the question, I wanted to mention something really quick, which was Eric's, you know, initial part of the story, that he wanted to become a soccer player, and for our youth that think, you know, soccer players get paid millions of dollars, and, you know, they play a 90-minute game, and man, they're rich. You have to think how many hours they train a day before the game. They cannot go party. They cannot go, you know, get crazy. They have to take care of their body. They have to go to the gym. They have to talk to the teams, and it's a lot of work behind the actual job, and it's the effort that gets put in that shows at that game, not just showing up for the game. All right, cool.
I just loved what Eric said about, you know, follow the dream, what it is you really want to do. That is so important. I mean, I think about it, you know, for certain kinds of fields of endeavor, you know, design and architecture are, I think, in that realm. There's so much passion involved. For me, it's not, I can't even imagine retiring from it. I mean, I can't imagine a musician retiring, an architect retiring. You know, these are things you just do till the end of your life because they're just so satisfying and interesting. And so I would just say, like, in the world of transportation design, you know, there are actually so many different facets. I mean, Leon and I talk about this a lot in our world. In a complex enterprise like a big automaker where they're developing new products, you know, there are multiple aspects of engineers that come to it. Some are a bit more on the artistic side. Some are more, I mean, if you're powertrain or safety systems, it might be really deep engineering, but there's a big array. I mean, we work with aerodynamicists and materials science engineers and all kinds of things. So all of it is interesting. So I would just say, if you have interest in things transportation, and I've worked on boat design and aircraft interiors and all kinds of things, and it's all interesting. There are lots of channels, you know, and even if your interest is a bit more on the engineering side, I think that for our students who come to Art Center, you know, because it's sort of midstream between art and engineering, some are, the meter's a little more toward engineering, some a little more toward art. And these people all find their place in the industry, you know, doing something. So there's no like single set of requirements or templates. And you know, Leanne and I are very different people, you know, but we've found a neat place, you know, in transportation design. So keep your mind open and just, you know, don't be bashful, you know, talk to people who are in the field, you know, try to find people who are in the field and say, hey, I'm a student at this school and I'm interested in this career, you know, got a couple questions for you. Don't be bashful, you know, find out.
And they can contact the Art Center for admissions to learn more, correct?
Absolutely. Our admissions department is just super helpful. I mean, Leanne and I together look at admissions portfolios, you know, every week or two, a lot of them. And in some of these cases, these great people in admissions have been, you know, working with a student, you know, since they were in high school and talking to them and coaching them. And so that's a big yes. I mean, our admissions department is super helpful. Plus, you know, Art Center Extension, ACX, has public program, you know, high school courses and other things. So there are things you can take. In fact, even our online training, if you want to pitch it, Leon, I mean, Leon has been one of our instructors building out a new thing that you can take online, you know.
I would like to go right after Eric, you know, I think he wanted to contribute, Eric, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo some of what Stuart said about the just not being shy and, you know, being able to reach out. You know, growing up, I didn't have a clear idea of what an architect and what an engineer did because I didn't know any. So, you know, that was the limitation of what my networks had to offer. And just hearing Stuart, you know, he did have access and he was bold and unafraid to like go to the job site and meet the architect and talk to them and ask questions. And I think that if I have to give you any advice is just to reinforce that. Don't be shy. Get out there, even if it's don't be self-conscious about what to say, how to write it, you know, what to say on the phone call, you know, like don't be, just the first thing is just to do it, you know, to make the effort, send that email, send that message, pick up the phone, get on a Zoom call and not be afraid, you know, all it is you're growing, you're learning how to talk to others and how to build your own network and build stronger connections for yourself and you won't know if you don't like it if you don't try it. So whatever you can do to get exposure to the field that you might be interested in, you know, I will share. There are summer camps. I know that Art Center has some. My sister participated in some, and you know, I always try to encourage young people to explore, you know, summer camps that have these opportunities to gain exposure. I've been involved with one through NOMA, the National Organization of Minority Architects, that offers one, and you know, they've done an excellent job. We did one online last summer, and so this summer again it will be offered. So I can share that information if you guys are interested.
Terrific. Yeah, excellent. And just being conscious of time, it's 5:52. I'd love Mr. Paz to talk and then fit in a little bit of time for student questions. So Mr. Paz, please.
Yes, sure. So, you know, as design professionals and people that have gone through, you know, the trials and errors and just the hard path of school, I know that at this moment, if I kind of close my eyes and I remember being a student in high school, I remember having a hard time deciding what am I going to do. Like my mom wanted me to be a doctor, of course, and I had interest in arts, but I was never really given the opportunity to go and take an art class, even though I had did some drawings or some little collages and got some, a little star or something. It was like, hey, your kid could be, an artist. But the Art Institute was too far of a drive for my parents, and they're like, just keep reading and keep trying to learn math. I was considered one of those unteachable students. I was that hyper, and I was that hard to concentrate. But when I found my dream, when I started thinking about this is what I want to do, when I started thinking about answering the phone and having to be in a conversation in the middle of what I was drawing, I'm like, you know what? I want to draw, I want to sketch, I want to design. So you have to follow your gut. And I know making a commitment, like I'm seeing some of the questions here, making a commitment to say, yeah, I'm going to become something that I'm not very sure, and I have to go to school for 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, 5 years. It's a hard thing to do, but it's never a one-way street. It's always like a flowing river. You're going to jump into this, college, or into this, Pasadena City College or Art Center or UCLA, and then you're going to start talking to people. We're like, oh man, I really like that crowd, and they're the photography crowd, or they're the graphic design crowd, or they're in healthcare, and then you're going to be tempted, like, hey, you know what, I kind of like that, but you have to be in the swim, you have to be in the pool to pick your current. So don't think, oh, you know what, I'm going to sign up for this, and that's what I'm going to be, when I close my eyes, when I'm, 100 years old. No, life is going to take you through many different streams. And I am in my position, and I was reading some of the questions, like, was this my dream job when I was a student? And to be honest, it's actually better than my dream job, because I get to do both things. And through Art Center, and actually when I graduated, I got a lot of people, a lot of students asking me, hey, how did you do that? People from India, people from Europe, hitting me on Coroflot, on Facebook. Hey, beautiful drawings. Can you tell me what materials did you use? And I started into these conversations that will take me hours. I'm like, man, I'm kind of crazy. I should have been hanging out, watching a movie, rather than writing emails back and forth about how to do things. And the people that got close to me started calling me Il Maestro. I went to Italy and I was doing a master's over there, but I had to explain things to my peers. So I started teaching while I was a student, and that really took me to the path that I'm now, and is even more satisfactory than the dream that I had when I was a student. So let life, run through, but get together with the good influences, with the right people, be in the right pool if you want some results. If you are not expecting great results at the end of your life, then it's not going to happen. You have to be in the concert to have fun, right? So, make the line. It's a long line to get in the best seats in the concert, but you got to do it that way.
Thank you. Thank you for those great pieces of advice and in terms of what kids need to do. I mean, we've got 6th through 12th graders on this call. What you need to do today. I mean, some of the items you mentioned, you always talk about, all three of you mentioned, having to work collaboratively with others, being able to articulate your designs, clearly note in a professional manner what you want, what needs to get done, and work with others. Those are all skills that you work on in high school. And to complement with what they said, following this webinar, I will put together an email to send out to everyone that completes the survey, a variety of resources. I also have a video with interview of Mr. Reed. I can add that NOMA camp that Mr. Rodriguez noted, and also some Art Center information. But I will include that as long as you complete the survey. I opened up, Amy, will you please direct some of the questions at our panel, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So this first one's from Ashley. I think Eric, it'd be great if you could pick it up. It's a simple question. How many years of college to become an architect?
There's a couple different routes, but the short for myself, I did a bachelor's of science in architecture, and that was 5 years. That was a 5-year degree. So, it took me 6 because I did 3 years at community college and then another 3, my classes transferred. So I started off as a 3rd year at Woodbury and finished off. But you could also you can go and do your undergrad in whatever it is that you want, do 4 years, and then go to a master's program. There's different types of programs, but usually it's about 2 years. So master's in architecture, and that'll make you eligible to get licensed. And after that, there's experience that you need and also exams you need to take to get your license and officially call yourself an architect. That's why I'm a designer. But within the next couple months, I'm actually going to be taking my last exam with the California. So.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. And maybe you could pick up this next question and we could also get a response maybe from Stuart. Timmy wants to know, are there any internships in your field? So maybe are internships a standard practice, Eric, when it comes to like architecture and design, or is there a different practice?
We do have internships. We usually have interns. I don't believe we've had any high school age interns at the moment, but we do have internships for folks who are currently in architecture programs, and we bring them in. They assist us with different projects, get them exposure to different aspects of the design process, and then we do have, if there's interest in coming into the office and sort of seeing and going through the day, we have had high school students who come in for a day or two and just kind of shadow and maybe walk a site or sit in on some meetings to see how we design and talk about the different projects.
That's great. Stuart, maybe for like transportation and other forms of design, are internships also another standard practice, or what are your...
We actually have a career professional development office at Art Center that works real hard with all of us in the different departments, with the department chairs, to really work internships. And in our field, transportation design, I mentioned there are over 25 advanced design studios in Southern California. So built in locally are a lot of internships in our field. And then a lot of our students go to Detroit. They'll go to South Korea or China or Europe for internships. We've had students take multiple internships and manage to get one in Europe and one in Detroit and one in California. So thankfully, Art Center has, we have a lot of really well-placed alumni all over the world. And I was just talking to one of the VPs of design in Detroit this week, and he said, they do about a third of their recruiting at Art Center and a third at other schools around the world, and then a third, in other places. But everybody comes to Art Center. So our students can expect good access to internships for sure.
Great. Nicole, I just wanted to check in. I know we're at time now, so
Yes.
maybe we should...
Yeah, in terms of, we're at time at 6:01. For those of you, for PUC students, make sure you complete the survey. I want to just say, all of these presenters, first off, I reached out to the Art Center, to Mr. Reed, and he recruited Mr. Paz. I just stalked Mr. Rodriguez on and was able to connect with him, and they all were committed not only to, they were committed to you students. They gave up their evenings, an hour of their time dedicated, because they wanted to share their story, because they think it's important to let others know the actual realities of becoming their profession, and just their life advice is invaluable. So I can't thank you enough for your time and your commitment to PUC students. And I'm going to stay on for a little bit if there's any questions, but please know that if you need to sign off, we are at time. And thank you. But whoever's able to stay, if you've got any questions, please. But panelists, if you need to leave it, we're at time, and students, thank you so much.
I can be here if there are other questions. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Me too.
Thank you.
Awesome. So if you,
I can stay a little longer as well, Nicole. That's fine.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
yeah. So students, if you're still on and you want to throw in a couple more questions, one I loved was someone asked if your jobs are what you expected when you expectation versus reality. If anyone wants to pick up that question.
I would like to chime in really quick. Yes, it is, and it was for the times when I was in studio. The life in studio is quite energetic, and having the people, work next to you, and you can see the projects and be inside this dynamic, synergy, exposure of different cultures is amazing. And then seeing the future from the head of other people's is quite amazing. I love that part. So yeah, it was what it was. But then I also read a question about, college life. Being in high school, is college life any different, or is it completely like in the movies, or is not like in the movies? And it's something that is true. Is like when you're in college, high school life is completely something of the past. Just the whole thing of being popular or trying to fit in really just goes out the window, because now everybody's after their passion. And the greatest thing is that there's this niche called classrooms, where all these people with the same interests fall in. And now you have, a group of really good friends that are interested in the same subject matter that you are. So you don't have to be secret about it. You don't have to be, a geek about it. You don't have to be like, oh, just don't look at what I'm doing. Now you want to share. So it just really turned my life around. College was quite a great experience for me. And I'm not saying it was easy. Art Center actually makes college life, difficult. It's hard because we want to train and we want to get the best out of everybody. So I would not say, hey, you know what, this is where you want to go if you want to get an ECA. But it is going to be that place where you go like, okay, you know what, let me just take a class here. Maybe I like it. And then you're going to be like, hey, you know what, I want to learn more about this. So it's one of those things that gets you, hyped. And I like that part of my life. I like being hyped. I'm a man that says very few words at home, but when I'm with my students and when I'm people with, with you guys, I feel like sharing. So it's not like just people are paying you to come in and talk about things. There's really people out there that are interested in helping out. And it's a human aspect of life. So yeah, that's my part.
I'll talk a little bit about the sort of the studio life and being in college and sort of what that is like. And I think it's like Leon said, it's difficult. It's not easy. It's definitely a lot of long hours. You're putting in a lot of time. And it was very challenging, more challenging than I could have imagined it, but it was also very rewarding. When I went to school at Woodbury, through my education, I actually was able to travel the world. And, I thought traveling the world was something sort of in the distant future when I retire, but no, at the age of 20, 21, I found myself spending 2 months in China, in Shanghai, Beijing, Nanjing. I went to spend time with students there, Chinese students, and we interacted and collaborated via sketches and drawing, and we spoke a totally different language. I did take some classes on Mandarin, very choppy, but we mostly communicated through drawing. And after that, I spent some time in Germany, got to see Spain, and then I spent a whole semester down in Buenos Aires. So it it's just an eye-opening experience, and being able to collaborate with students who are passionate about the same things, who have totally different walks of life and totally different perspectives. You know, you bring it home and you see the place that you're from and you see it with a total new lens, you know, so that being the education gives you an opportunity to step away from your what you know, to be able to come back refreshed and to see it with new eyes. And you know, you'll want to do that for yourself, you know, every maybe 5 or so years, to, you know, take a trip and sort of have that be part of, like, just feeding your soul, getting you inspired into your work. And like Stuart said, you know, it's like, it's hard to imagine actually like retiring, you know, because it becomes part of your life and who you are, and it's sort of baked into your everyday.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I thought when I graduated from Art Center, I was really prepared, you know, for the industry, and then thrust into situations in studios with really experienced people, and realizing it's just a reset. Now I'm starting to learn all over again. And I think at my age today, I just realized that if you can develop kind of a mentality that you're a lifelong student, you know, and you're always learning and you're always curious and eager to learn about other disciplines around you that you have to cooperate or work with, it'll be the most satisfying. I mean, some of my great memories, you know, kind of like what Eric's saying, is being, you know, with the Toyota Advanced Studio, and we would do some elaborate full-scale concept vehicles, future ideas, and then shipped them. Usually our pattern was to ship them to Japan in the fall of the year and then go over for 2 or 3 weeks and present them to all these different teams in Japan. And I can just remember, just like Eric just said, working with engineers in Japan where they don't speak good English and I don't speak good Japanese. And so communication is through drawing, you know, and everybody can sense if you're eager to understand what their issues are, and you can negotiate and work. And I mean, fast forward now, some of the best people who focus maybe on vehicle interior design are those with a sense of humanity, and they've, you know, maybe they've worked in hospitality or in restaurants, and it gives them a keen understanding of how to delight people and think about their needs and pay attention, and they become great interior designers. I'm sure it's true in architecture too, Eric, that if you think about other people and you know, you're a better person at solving problems for them.
Thank you.
I wanted to, is it okay if I'm reading some of these questions here I think,
Please.
just because I know, you know, yeah, my boss, who's, you know, Stuart, he does live in Pasadena, right, Stuart? And, you know, we work at Pasadena. I used to live in Pasadena before too, but now I live near Venice Beach. But I think the commute, I drive the commute, and at the beginning I thought it was far away, but now I'm happy because I'm not near the, you know, I'm exposed to other things. So my job gives me, you know, a scenario, and then when I go back to home, it's a different scenario, and then the weekends are different for me. So it's not you learn, especially here in LA, that, you know, commutes are actually sometimes part of the deal. And then I had jobs where I had to drive all the way to San Juan Capistrano, but once again, that really boiled down just because of how hungry I was to be in this industry. Another thing is, I think I like, one of the questions was, one of the important questions is, do you need some type of experience for a major or for college application? And if so, what are the experiences? This is from Susana. This is imperative in my point of view. You don't want to graduate high school and be like, okay, what kind of summer classes there are? You know, I'm not really sure of what I want to do. I'm just going to apply to a college and see what's going on. You can do it that way. This is how I did it, but that's going to cost you a little bit more time to get your you know, your gears rolling towards the direction that you ultimately want. What I'll suggest is you start applying for, you know, summer school or any of these programs that, public programs like we have here at Art Center, and maybe Eric, whatever, the program he's talking about. And it's not just for these two majors, it's for any major that you're interested in. Try to find where you can get just your toes wet, start getting a sense of, see if this is what you like, if you're interested, and if you like it, great, keep it in on top of your desk, and then try something else and be like, you know what, I learned through this class that I don't like, biology, chemistry. That's, I thought I was going to be a biology, something in biology, and I couldn't muster it. I didn't have the interest that I thought I was going to have. So it was a great class to take to learn that I wasn't interested in it. So yeah, try to get some summer classes or any kind of event during your high school.
In high school, our students hear constantly about the opportunities for community service and opportunities for, they can take dual enrollment courses for free through any of Los Angeles community colleges for free before graduation. So
That's
we
it.
highly encourage them to take certificated programs, to take, it's their opportunity to earn college credit and get a taste of something before they apply to college. So,
Yeah.
you said it beautifully, all three of you panelists, in terms of you don't have to wait to college to figure it out, and beyond time, it costs you money. So
Yeah.
we highly encourage that, reaching out and asking. I believe, I forgot who said it, but you ask, and if someone tells you no, that's okay. But asking if there's an opportunity to volunteer, to come visit, to do any of these things. And students, please know that it does make a difference when you reach out and how you sound and how you present yourself. But that's why you have school and college counselors, or we have some of the most talented art teachers at our school, as well as other teachers, but that you can speak with and say, hey, can you help me role play? Or I'm thinking of reaching out. Can you talk me through it, how to do it? All of our school and college counselors or teachers would be over the moon excited to help you reach out and explore these opportunities and make these connections, the networking. So with that being said, we are 6:15 and need to round off this webinar, but thank you so much. Again, I am going to send an email out first thing tomorrow morning, just sharing some of the feedback that y'all have provided, as well as resources. Some panelists provided resources in their survey link, as well as I will look up the NOMA camp that you mentioned, Mr. Rodriguez, to make sure to include that for the students. And if you think of anything else, email me. I'll also share, Mr. Press shared some tremendous sketches that he did as a student that I'll be able to put into the, I'll be able to put in chair, and again, a video of Mr. Reed in an interview. So if you think of anything else, when I email you, you can email me back, and I'm also glad to help you as a member of PUC, even though I'm not at your high school, in making any of these connections. So again, presenters, you give your time, you've given your heart, your story to our students. I'm forever thankful for what you've shared today. And I like the little clap emoji. That's fantastic with your
Thanks,
Zoom
Nicole.
skills.
Thanks,
But
Amy. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
hope you have a great night. And I thank you, students, for investing the time in yourself to be here today.
Good to meet you, Eric.
Yeah, good to
Meet you
meet you
too.
too. Take care.
Best of luck on
See
the
you.
certification. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome. I'm gonna head out, Nicole.
Please do. Thank you, Amy.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
evening. Yeah, bye.
Bye. Students, if any of you have questions now, please let me know, or when I shoot you that email, just reply back and let me know if there's anything I can do to support you. Please ask, and know you have great school counselors at your school if you're one of our high school students. And if you're a middle school student, please reach out to me. I'm glad to provide whatever support you might need. Any questions, Cecilia or Timmy, before I log off? No? Okay, then I am going to stop this webinar and sign off now. And again, if you have any questions or need any additional support, respond to the email that I'll send out tomorrow morning first thing. Have a great night. Thank you for being here.